We're kicking off with WWE Raw as Paul Heyman appeared in the show's closing segment and had plenty to say about CM Punk and the favor that was revealed on SmackDown. The favor is that Heyman will be in Punk's corner at WrestleMania, not Roman Reigns', but on Raw, Paul made clear that he will always be loyal to both men. Before he could speak any further, Seth Rollins' music hit and he questioned whose side Paul is truly on before taking Heyman on a trip down memory lane. Seth reminded Heyman that Reigns left him to solo Sikoa and Reigns went away following his WrestleMania 40 loss and said that Punk walked out on Heyman and everyone else in 2014. Seth brought up how Punk wasn't the first choice to join Reigns' War Games team, but that it was instead himself, and that Punk only joined to get a favor out of his friend Paul Heyman. Rollins threatened to take Heyman out with a boot to the head, saying he could make things easy for Paul, and started to rough him up, asking how much he was worth. Despite Heyman's warnings for Rollins to stop, Seth backed him into a corner, but that's when CM Punk's music hit, and the best in the world ran to his friend's rescue. Punk and Rollins brawled, but in the end it was Seth who stood tall, and Rollins looked at the relatively unscathed Heyman, telling Paul that he now owes him a favor. Outside of Drew McIntyre, Rollins has perhaps been the most compelling talker for the last 6 months as a heel who's still getting cheered and believes he is justified in his actions. For the most part, Rollins makes good points, though his obsession with the demises of both Punk and Reigns has changed him, shedding the WrestleMania hero image he held 1 year ago. With Rollins now suggesting Heyman owes him a favor, it'll be interesting to see how things play out and whether it'll be Rollins who stands tall come April 19th at WrestleMania Saturday. But what did you make of this segment? Do you believe Heyman owes Seth a favor since Rollins didn't destroy him on Raw? And could this be setting up Heyman and Rollins aligning? There's a lot of directions this storyline could go, especially with Roman Reigns set to be on next week's Go Home Raw, and share your thoughts down in the comments section below. So Seth Rollins now has a favor owed to him by Paul Heyman, or at least that's what the Visionary believes, but what could Seth have in store for the Hall of Famer? One possibility is that Rollins will force Heyman to back out of WrestleMania 41, meaning he won't be in the corner of either Roman Reigns or CM Punk later this month. Rollins will be aware that having Heyman at ringside puts himself at a distinct disadvantage, as Paul could end up aiding Punk, Reigns, or both men in their triple threat main event. Removing Heyman from the scene would make sense and could further tensions between Heyman, Punk, and Reigns if Paul goes along with Seth's favor. There's the possibility that Rollins will want Heyman at ringside though, and that his favor is to ensure he wins at WrestleMania 41 in what would be a shocking turn by Paul. Rollins could secretly ask Heyman to help him win in a move that would change the entire landscape of WWE and make the post-WrestleMania scene all the more intriguing. Speaking of what may come after WrestleMania, Rollins' favor could be that he forces Heyman to get him a world title shot, something Paul may be able to do. After all, Heyman already has a close connection to Cody Rhodes, and should Jey Uso win the World Heavyweight title, Heyman has a past with him thanks to the bloodline. Rollins' most recent reign as World Heavyweight Champion ended at WrestleMania 40, and what do you think Seth's requested favor will be? Let us know below. Adam Pearce was on Raw to address the Women's World Championship picture as Rhea Ripley continued to try and force her way into the title match at WrestleMania 41. Well, it appears Ripley's efforts paid off as Pearce brought out Bianca Belair, the champion Io Sky, and Ripley, and there was a major botch as he said Rhea was repping the Judgment Day. After the awkward moment, Pearce said that Sky will put her title on the line against both Belair and Ripley in a triple threat match, much to the delight of the live crowd. Belair said that a few weeks ago this decision would have angered her, but now she's okay with it as she wants a piece of Ripley at WrestleMania 41, and once again, Io was pushed aside. After a short brawl, it was Sky who was left standing tall, reminding fans and her opponents that the reigning Women's World Champion should not be underestimated. There was a scary spot near the end of the segment as when Sky dropkicked Ripley into Belair, some fans online were concerned with how Ripley's face collided with the shoulder of the EST. Some speculated that Ripley had suffered a broken nose, and the fact that there appeared to be some blood coming from Rhea's face was immediately worrying for fans. The last thing anyone needs is for Ripley to suffer an injury this close to WrestleMania 41, especially after so much of the storyline has been about her trying to find a way into the match. The question now is who will win this, and while Ripley is popular and Belair hasn't held singles gold in a long time, it feels like Sky is the one who needs this win the most. After weeks of being made to be the third wheel despite being the champion, it's hard to see how WWE could build Sky back up if this third wheel loses her title at WrestleMania. But who do you want to see win at WrestleMania? Will Sky's reputation be hurt if the woman treated as an afterthought loses her title later this month? Let us know down below. A serious Jey Uso arrived through the crowd without any of his usual yeeting to confront World Heavyweight Champion Gunther ahead of their WrestleMania showdown. 1 week after Gunther obliterated Jimmy Uso, leaving him a bloody mess, Jay delivered the exact promo this storyline needed to follow up on what transpired in London. Jay said he's not afraid of Gunther anymore and claims that Jimmy's blood is on his hands, and at WrestleMania, he'll do something about that. The ring general remained silent but looked concerned after awakening this side of Jey Uso, who is not only wanting to take his World Heavyweight title, but also take revenge on Gunther. El Grande Americano made his return to the ring on Raw to battle Dragon Lee, 2 weeks removed from Americano's quote-unquote debut during WWE Raw in Glasgow. This time, though, Americano teamed with the Creeds to take on Lee and the LWO, and the two were given plenty of time to show their respective skills in the ring. The finish of the match saw Ivy Nile hand Americano a metal plate that the Masked wrestler put in his mask, and a loaded headbutt from the top rope gave the new Masked sensation the win. Chad Gable was missing from the show, and Pat McAfee said he had a case of the sniffles, though Chad's hometown crowd seemed thrilled to see El Grande Americano. El Grande Americano is now 2-0 in WWE, but Rey Mysterio plans to put an end to this, as in a backstage segment he argued that the character is a mockery of Lucha Libre traditions. Adam Pearce made Mysterio vs. Americano official for WrestleMania, and while this isn't a mask versus mask match as some predicted, that stipulation may come next week. Even if it doesn't, one of these masked superstars may be exposed at WrestleMania, and one can only wonder where Chad Gable will be when Americano's match happens in Las Vegas. Ahead of Raw, Adam Pearce made a blockbuster announcement about the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, as Braun Breaker will be putting the gold on the line. The odds will be against the champion, though, as he'll defend against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio in a fatal four-way, giving Braun slim odds of retaining his title. These four have been feuding over the title for some time, with Penta challenging for the title on the March 24th Raw in Glasgow, but the Judgment Day caused a DQ finish. While the faction had at one point offered a spot to Penta, he had refused, which set up a tag team match last week that saw Balor and Dom defeat Breaker and Penta. Now, though, it'll be every man for himself at WrestleMania, and on Raw, Balor once again disrespected Mysterio and said that Dom had a chance to prove he wasn't a loser. That didn't play out, though, as Penta defeated Mysterio in singles action, but when the Judgment Day attacked Penta after the match, Breaker appeared and delivered a series of deadly spears. Braun sprinted down the entranceway to practically cut Carlito in half, and in the ring would flatten both Mysterio and Penta in an epic moment of dominance. Breaker's moment was short-lived, though, as Balor would attack him from behind, and the Irish superstar would be the one standing tall, holding the Intercontinental Championship. Noticeably, Balor chose to pose with the gold rather than check on Mysterio, and would escape the ring before he could take a spear by Breaker, who was back on his feet. Who do you see leaving WrestleMania as Intercontinental Champion? Do you think Breaker can find a way to retain? Share your thoughts down in the comments section. Following the recent AEW Dynasty pay-per-view, Swerve Strickland had plenty to say to the fans, but ended with a pointed message of Booker T. This comment came after back-and-forth comments between the two, stemming from Swerve discussing a lack of opportunities for black talent in WWE, and now Booker has responded. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker addressed the now viral clip, and while he said he's not upset about it, he had some advice for the former AEW World Champion. He said, "Don't be talking about something other than the pay-per-view at the end of the night. That's the main event and the last thing people are going to remember. The last thing people are going to remember is me, my name being said." Booker suggested that Tony Khan won't have appreciated that Strickland made Booker be the headline news around Dynasty instead of the matches, calling it a bad move. Booker went on to say that if Swerve has something to say to him, he should say it to his face, but did wish Swerve well in his career in wrestling. With that said, Booker said he's likely finished saying anything positive about Strickland, adding that, "I've learned my lesson," before discussing perceived generational differences. "This generation, man, I'm an advocate for all young black talent to get into this business, but I'm an advocate for so many more young kids than just black kids. I'm an advocate for anybody who has the talent to actually make it to the next level." Booker concluded that he and Swerve come from a different cloth, before reiterating that his days speaking positively about Swerve and his in-ring work has come to an end. What do you make of Booker's comments? Have they changed your stance on the issues between the Hall of Famer and the AEW star? Share your thoughts down in the comments. Hall of Fame news now, as this year's class is proving to be another stacked collection of stars, but fans shouldn't expect any more inductions this year. This week, WWE began rolling out merchandise for this year's Hall of Fame, signifying that every single person who WWE plans to induct has already been announced. This comes after reports that WWE was considering Ken Shamrock and Kamala, but Shamrock has since said that WWE has not reached out to him. As for Kamala, talks with his family are said to be ongoing, but don't expect he, Shamrock, or anybody else to be named for this year's class. We've got an update on Tammy Sytch, as the disgraced Hall of Famer will pay in a major way to the family of the man she killed in her March 2022 car crash. Circuit Judge Mary G. Jolly in Volusia County, Florida has ordered that Sytch pays $5 million in damages to the estate of Julian Lasseter, with that number bearing interest at a rate of 9.39%. Sytch is currently serving a 17-year prison sentence, and her release date is projected to be November 2, 2039, giving Sytch plenty of time to reflect on the tragedy that transpired. Back to Raw now, as Ludwig Kaiser was interviewed by Kathy Kelly and reiterated his stance from last week that he's unhappy about being overlooked for WrestleMania 41. It certainly feels like Kaiser is building towards something possibly at WrestleMania, but for now it's unclear what role, if any, he'll have as part of the show. There was a fun moment where Kaiser teased addressing the elephant in the room, a nod to the comments from Charlotte Flair on SmackDown, before he griped about his WrestleMania snub. It appears Kaiser himself will not be addressing last week's explosive segment on camera, though questions remain as to what will be said during this week's SmackDown. During Raw, an advertisement for WWE World was shown, and interestingly, Alexa Bliss was among those being advertised for the fan event. That's despite Bliss vanishing from TV and fanatics sharing via tweet on March 18th that Bliss would no longer be attending the upcoming event in Las Vegas. To make this more confusing, Bliss was previously removed from the graphic before being re-added, though at this time, there's no tickets available for fans to meet the goddess. Bayley took on Lyra Valkyria for the Women's Intercontinental title in the first match on Raw, and despite the friendship between the two, neither woman held anything back. This was a great match, but with a really concerning spot when Bayley pulled Valkyria down from the top turnbuckle and the champion's head collided with the turnbuckle on the way down. The referee quickly checked that Valkyria was okay and was able to continue, and while she was, this moment left fans concerned that this match, worthy of any PLE, would have an abrupt finish. In the end, Lyra was able to roll up Bayley for the 3 after she nearly tapped out to a Boston Crab, and though Bayley rejected a post-match handshake, she hugged the champ instead. Now attention for the pair turns towards this Friday's SmackDown, where they'll team up in a 6-team match to determine who will challenge for the women's tag titles at WrestleMania 41. This was a rough loss for Bayley, who was on top of the world this time last year, but why exactly did the role model come up short? It's possible WWE is planting the seeds for a Bayley heel turn, as her frustrations at not winning the gold from Valkyria may boil over soon enough. Another loss, perhaps on this week's SmackDown, could see Bayley snap on Lyra, giving the pair a reason to wrestle once again, likely at WrestleMania. Then again, it's just as possible that WWE does not plan on having the women's IC title be a focal point at WrestleMania, so having the title change hands now would not have done much. Fans should also remember that Valkyria is less than 100 days into her reign, and WWE likely wants a solid reign of decent length to establish the Women's Intercontinental title. Having Lyra lose the gold this week, cutting her reign short at 85 days, may have harmed the status of the title, while Valkyria keeping the title shows the fighting spirit of the first ever champion. But what do you think? Was Lyra retaining the title the right call, or should Bayley have gotten the win and the gold? Share your thoughts and feedback in our comments section down below. AJ Styles was set to talk about his match with Logan Paul in a backstage segment, but Karrion Kross interrupted and warned Styles that he had to win the match. Kross said that if AJ loses, then they all lose, and the frustrated Phenomenal One laid down the challenge for Kross to face him next week on the Go Home Raw before WrestleMania. Karrion would end the segment by revealing that he has a bigger plan concerning Styles, and what will that be? Fans will have to stay tuned to find out. The New Day battled the War Raiders for the World Tag Team Championships on Raw 6 years to the day that Kofi Kingston won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 35. On Twitter, Kofi celebrated this highlight of his career by sharing a picture of his win, but had edited out Big E and the latest dastardly act by the New Day. Tony Hinchcliffe joined Michael Cole and Pat McAfee on commentary to promote the roast of WrestleMania on April 20th, in an example of a celebrity involvement as part of WWE's Netflix deal. On Raw, Woods entered the ring with a steel chair during the match, but Ivar countered this and hit him with it, and since the ref saw this, the match ended in a DQ. Irate at not winning the titles, Kingston and Woods then attacked the necks of both men with some chairs and targeted the surgically repaired neck of Eric that cost him months of his career. Eric was left unmoving as security ran out to stop them, and one has to wonder what this means for the future of the World Tag Team Champions and their current reign with the gold. And we're ending with more from Raw, as when the show went off the air, CM Punk had a back and forth with A-Town Down Under. Though the numbers weren't on Punk's side, he would receive some unlikely backup in the form of comedian Bert Kreischer, who jumped the barricade to even up the odds. The star would take down both Austin Theory and Grayson Waller with chokeslams, much to the delight of the crowd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Ever since Raw came to Netflix, fans have seen several celebrities attending events, and for Kreischer, he didn't just attend, but was able to have some fun after Raw went off the air.